Are you an adult that wants straighter teeth, but you're not really interested in being that metal mouth like the teenagers? Well, there are great solutions out there now for adults with clear aligners. And so we want to talk all about that today in our new show called 101 Clear Aligners, everything that you want to know about straighter teeth for adults. And welcome back. I'm Dr. Jill Wade to the Beyond Face Value Show, and I want to welcome my beautiful and lovely guest host, Ms. Laura Edward Lewis.
So happy to be here again.
I know.
I think it's going to be all about teeth today.
It is. It's going to be all about teeth. And I love teeth, and I love straight teeth, and I'll tell you why. Because when you have straighter teeth, it's actually healthier. It helps maintain your teeth long term because you're not functionally kind of chipping and breaking at them because they're not lined up together to have a really good bite. But also from a cosmetic standpoint, I'm from Texas, so I like everything bigger, including our smiles. So we love broad smiles. And why? So that we can see more teeth down the sides of our mouth. We don't just want to see your front four teeth and kind of crooked. We want to be able to see like 8 to 10 teeth, a big Julia Roberts smile, right?
Right. I mean, when people are self-conscious about their teeth, they have a tendency to smile just with their mouth closed, or, you know, or for our viewers and listeners, you may identify with this, whether, well, I don't know. I mean, what would be a cause for you to become more aware of what your smile looks like? I mean, we had a recent thing that happened in our history here all over the world that caused people to take a look at themselves, and that was?
Well, after COVID, everybody started doing virtual home settings and on Zoom.
Right.
And all of a sudden, in Zoom, you're looking at yourself. Now, how many times have you sat down in a boardroom or across from somebody for some type of business transaction? You can't see yourself. You can't see what you look like when you're talking, when you're smiling, when you're not smiling. And so there was this huge awareness that all of a sudden happened after COVID that, hey, my smile is crooked or doesn't really portray the look and the feel that I'm hoping for, a very confident, what we call power smiles.
Right.
And we get power smiles with Invisalign.
Yeah, I think it's pretty awesome. I mean, we've had past episodes where you talked about smile makeovers, and that's a really big deal.
Right.
And I encourage people, if you haven't seen that series that we did, to go back and look at that. But even just with Invisalign and straightening teeth, or even just straightening one tooth or a couple of teeth, is going to make such a big difference. And it's not just about the aesthetic, like you were talking about, right? This is really about health too. So can we talk about that, about the health aspect of crooked teeth and misaligned teeth?
So misaligned teeth or crooked teeth, like you said, is really maybe you had it all your life, like you've never had any orthodontic care. Or perhaps you did have some orthodontic changes as a teenager, but as you've aged and you didn't wear your retainers, gravity began to happen. And when gravity happens, everything kind of wants to collapse from the side and then move down and forward, leaving some of the front teeth more crowded than even the back teeth.
Okay, and can I ask you a quick question? Yeah. Because you've used this term before, gravity, talking about the mouth and the face in past episodes. Can you explain a little bit more right now about how what's happening as you're aging and gravity, and why is it impacting the teeth that way?
Yeah, so literally it's the force. It's the forces of your mouth, the forces of the muscles in your face, the force of a very large muscle called your tongue, and it's all influencing the arch or the way that the teeth are fit together. I actually brought a little model here of a mouth. And so when we're talking about an arch, this U-shaped is what we're talking about, the arch. When gravity happens, let's say this is the bottom teeth. When gravity happens, the sides begin to collapse because our cheeks become more strong than the front of our mouth, because the front of our mouth and the collagen and the muscles begin to get looser, lighter, however you want to say
lax.
Okay. Exactly. Yeah. I like that word, lax. And so again, the sides begin to constrict and the front teeth begin to slide forward a little bit. And when that happens, there's less room. And so things begin to tweak and turn and start to look very crooked. This, for me as a professional, this is when I look at someone, be it in the movies or someone that I'm meeting, this is where I look to see how old someone is. Because the more crowded and the more constricted someone is, when I'm looking down at them and they're talking to me, the more I think they're aged.
Very interesting.
Does that make sense?
Oh, kind of.
So,
Reminds me of rings of a tree.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, a tree, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to be flippant about it, but it is true
is
that these
true.
changes will happen.
So if you want to look younger, you kind of want to do some anti-aging, then get into some type of clear aligners. I call it Invisalign a lot of times, and I'll tell you why here in just a minute. Okay. But basically what we're doing is we are going to go backwards, right? We're going to get back the actual physicalness of what has happened with gravity, and we're going to expand the sides back out again, and we're going to pull the front teeth back in. And when we expand and give you a wider arch, then we have more room for the teeth to come back in and get right in place. So from a health standpoint, when you get your teeth back in alignment like a little picket fence, then the bone that is supporting the teeth is got plenty of room. The gums have plenty of room to breathe and everything. When you get really, really constricted and crowded, you're actually squeezing the space around the teeth down at the bone and the gums, and you're actually going to lose some of that support and health of your gums and your gum tissue.
And your bone.
And your bone.
Right.
Well, just like a fence, you want as much bone to surround your teeth as you can possibly get for long-term health.
Yeah.
Also, when they're misaligned or crowded and they start to touch each other different, especially in the front, that's when you'll also start to see little chips and breaks happening in the front, which also ages you.
And that's because when they're touching and crossing over like that, it's like actually stress, right?
It's stress.
That's it's stressing. I guess it's just like physics, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I love that. And also with young people or younger children, like if you look at a child's mouth or a teenager's mouth or whatever, you know, we have talked about volume in the face and that type of thing, but it makes such perfect sense. If you look at a kid, you look at a teenager, get that beautiful, full, broad smile, you know, the teeth are, you know, where they should be and all that typically, right?
Right.
And then as you age and it draws forward, you can just see how that would, all that working together can advance your age the way you look. And
You want me to blow your mind?
yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about one other thing that happens when this collapses and the arch is smaller than it should be. It encroaches on our tongue because that's where our tongue sits, is in between here. When it encroaches on the tongue no longer will sit down into your mouth. Guess where it goes? It starts to fold up and goes back. As we've talked about before, this starts to encroach on our breathing airway space. We start to snore. We start to not be able to breathe as good as we should. We start to have more apneic events. I'm not saying you have sleep apnea, but you would have more apneic events.
Okay.
And just breathing and sleeping becomes harder and harder. So even in adults, keeping that arch expanded is super great for your overall health and well-being from even just simply a breathing standpoint.
And that it does blow my mind.
Isn't
That
that crazy?
that is an amazing thing to think about.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually, with a little side note, I was just watching John Bon Jovi's show that's on Hulu right now. And he was doing all these really interesting exercises with his tongue. And I just watched this a couple days ago.
Cool.
And he was talking about with age and with the use of the tongue that people don't think about the fact that you've got to even keep that tongue working
Absolutely.
properly. So what you just
Like a little
said
face yoga.
goes right in alignment with John Bon Jovi.
All right. Well, hey, if I can be right in alignment with John Bon Jovi, I'm all about that. I grew up in the 80s, so woo. So yes, arch form is great. We used to only think that we could widen somebody's arch as they were growing as children, but we still can as adults, and we'll talk about that in another episode too, because I think that's really important. But even just traditional braces or some type of clear aligners, especially clear aligners, they do an amazing job at expansion. It's one of the best let's say, movements that clear aligners makes compared to traditional braces. So a lot of people ask me, what's the difference between traditional orthodontics, the brace space, the metal brackets and wires and things like that versus Invisalign?
Right, because actually I don't, even though I've known about Invisalign and clear aligners, I really don't know, and didn't know until actually I had lunch yesterday with my hairdresser who happens to be doing clear aligners or Invisalign. And as we sat down to eat, he turned his face, popped them out, put them in his pocket. And I was like, wow, this is so funny because we're going to be talking about this. And I asked him a few questions, and I'm looking forward to you sharing about that, about what's the difference and how they really work. What's the process from beginning to end?
And my question to you is, was he pleased?
Oh,
Is he liking the experience?
He is, and he was talking about the number of weeks that was predicted and all that. And I really did not know that, when you begin that process, that it's pretty much all mapped out.
Right.
And that was really interesting to me.
And when you first saw him yesterday, and he had them in, did you notice that he had them in?
No, I didn't at all.
Exactly.
Not at all.
That's what I think we love about it, especially for adults, is that you can have them in at work, be talking, be doing your normal things. And really, if you don't want anybody to know, they have no idea that you're in the middle of orthodontic treatment.
Right.
And so that's why I think braces are becoming even, we talked about COVID is one of the reasons why the increase in adult orthodontics is being looked at, but also because of the ease of clear aligners. I think that's also just allowing adults to want to move towards treatment now and see that as a viable option. And for us, we're also seeing an increase in teens as well. Now, not every teen should be a candidate for Invisalign if they're not able to comply, because there is compliance issues. Remember, one of the great reasons why they use traditional braces on kids for so long is because once you apply those brackets onto the teeth, you cannot get them off.
No.
And so there's no option for them not to be wearing them at school or at night. They're there and they're doing their job no matter what.
The only compliance thing with those would be the headgear. Right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Remember the headgear.
Mom, I'm not wearing the headgear at school.
Right.
You wear it at home. Okay.
Right.
That's the only thing I remember wrestling with my kids about that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with Invisalign here on my model, I just broke that.
And by the way, I just want to mention, we have people just listening to the show, and they can find the show on YouTube as well.
Absolutely.
Aside from, listening on Google Podcasts or Apple Podcasts. So you really should come on over to the YouTube channel and check out some of the shows and some of the visuals, because this is a really cool visual. Especially seeing how it works.
It is. It literally just snaps down into place. The aligners themselves, very tight fit, not very thick or bulky. That's why you can wear them. Nobody sees them, but you can also speak and nobody really realizes that you have anything in your mouth because it's not big and bulky. What I was going to tell you is that, again, that's why a lot of adults want to wear that, just like the hairdresser, because they're sitting right there working, no big deal. You can wear them pretty much all day long. You can drink water all day long. It's not a problem. You don't have to take them out to drink water. If you're going to drink some other things like that, depending on what color it is and things like that, we might discourage
Because you don't want to be drinking that with red. Have that in your mouth when you're drinking red wine.
You do not. It's not a good look. It's not a good look. When you eat, we ask you to take them out. Eat your lunch, eat your dinner. Go ahead and brush your teeth back up again right after that, and then apply them back in again. The compliance is really where the success lies. The more you get it in your head that you're going to wear them all day and all night, the better and the faster the movements are, or what we call tracking. So each tray is going to be designed to move certain teeth in certain ways or certain directions. And believe it or not, each tray moves each tooth 0.25 millimeters. So that's why we can predict very clearly how long your treatment's going to take. Because if we're going to move a tooth, let's say 4 millimeters, then we can back that up and realize that to move 1 millimeter is going to take 4 trays. So if we're moving 4 millimeters, then that's at least 16 trays right there.
Makes sense. So this is where Gary was explaining this to me yesterday at lunch, my hairdresser. And he said, basically the whole process is mapped out, and he has a tray a week.
Yes.
So each tray is slightly moving those teeth.
Correct.
Yeah. And by the way, he did say every now and then he needs a little break. Yeah. He's like, maybe a day. I need a break because, because of the movement of the teeth, things are happening and there is some good stress that's going on. But I just thought that was so cool that you all can just say, okay, here's where you are now. Here's where you want to go. And then you do each of these trays and here's the end result. Exactly. It's going to take you so many months
exactly.
to do that.
And really what we're finding is traditionally any type of aligner treatment is actually faster than traditional braces because traditional braces are kind of as you go. They're watching bending wire, changing wires, positioning brackets and things like that. It is not truly planned out from start to finish. That's why it's a little bit unpredictable. Where we are very digital. We take digital scans of your mouth to begin with. Those are uploaded to one of the companies, actually literally digitally design the whole case, like you said, and then they process all of the trays at the same time. We have them, we keep them, we deliver them to you, typically about 6 at a time. So we like to keep in touch with you and watch and make sure you're tracking. The teeth are moving where we think they should and the trays are fitting well. That's what the word tracking means.
Sure.
And so that's why we see people about every 6 weeks or so in order to be sure that you're tracking properly. And this is really the key. There are and have been several businesses out there who try to take out the middleman of the dentist and go direct to the clients where you can purchase and do your own impression and send those in and have trays made and do it on your own. There's a reason why some of those companies have gone bankrupt and are no longer in business. You do not want to take out the middleman.
Yeah.
Those impressions that you're taking and you're not a dentist, how are you going to know if that impression is actually accurate and appropriate to send in? Okay.
Right.
So you could send in one that isn't accurate. Maybe it pulled and got warped a little bit. But the trays are going to be made to that warped mouth, and then they're going to move to that warped aspect. And that's what we see, and that's what we correct a lot of times when we have somebody who's come in and doesn't have a good bite and didn't move into good places. And sometimes it's actually harder to treat than it would have been if you just went to the dentist in the first place.
Isn't that interesting? Because if the bite is off too, we know that headaches could happen, jaw pain, a lot of discomfort. And plus, just aesthetically, I mean, what happens if it does move one of the significant teeth in your mouth in a way that you said it's going to be challenging to get it back to the way it was?
We have seen larger messes than I assure you than they ever had to begin with.
People shouldn't be messing with their own teeth that way. They really shouldn't. I mean, I understand a lot of people, they're worried about cost and that kind of thing, but in the end,
it costs them more.
Yeah.
So minor tooth movement is actually very affordable. You hear me say Invisalign a lot. Invisalign is the gold standard in clear aligners out there. Are there other companies? Absolutely. But be sure if you are wanting Invisalign that you do ask your provider, your doctor, your dentist, what company they are working with and what you are actually purchasing. I am still a big fan in Invisalign. That is pretty much 95% of all my cases are still Invisalign cases. They do have patented reasons that I like their material the best. It is the most predictable. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a prediction. We want to end up with that beautiful, gorgeous smile that everybody's happy with and that the function and the bite is actually fabulous as well.
Yeah.
And some people do ask a lot of times, well, it almost seems like, a full comprehensive case in Invisalign is maybe more expensive than traditional braces. Perhaps so, because there is more cost in the lab bill for Invisalign because the trays are all made together compared to the brackets and the wires.
Okay.
So you have to understand that, yes, it may be a shorter period of time, but there's also a larger laboratory fee associated with Invisalign.
Okay.
But in the end, you've just got to, see what it is that you want, see what the pros and the cons are, and see what fits in your lifestyle and your wants and needs.
Right. Yeah. Well, I just love the idea of it. I was fortunate. I never had to have braces. I really didn't. But seeing my kids go through that, and even I have, daughters that are older now, in their 30s, and they had braces, and their things have shifted a little bit on the lower teeth, and it makes me think, wouldn't that be awesome for them to do Invisalign? Because I don't think a lot of people are aware of this option, really. They might hear about, I hear about that Invisalign, but I don't know. And I think this is a really awesome concept to help people in such a short period of time to move those.
We have a lot of patients. So if you are even slightly interested, let me give you a little tip. Anybody that has the digital scanning technique for Invisalign, you can go into an office for a consultation. They can do the scan. It really is simple. It takes maybe 5 to 7 minutes to do the scan, 2 minutes to upload that to Invisalign. And then we can run a program that is a simulator. Now, it's not perfect. It's not the doctor's orders. Every once in a while, it just doesn't get it right. It might get a little confused if there's like a special little tweak or something like that. But I would probably say about 80% of the cases, the simulation that we can show you 2 minutes later of what your arch and your teeth and your smile would look like once the movements have occurred is amazing. And I don't know about you, but I'm a visual person. So I think that simulation is super helpful to decide if you want to move forward for any type of clear aligners, but specifically for Invisalign. Like I said, that's our go-to.
Right.
And, they have a great website. They have tons of before and after pictures. They talk more about the connection between your health, and it's a great company. They do a great job, and I'm not here to pimp, Invisalign, but I do feel very strongly about it. And I want our viewers to know what they're purchasing,
right? And
to be sure that they know what they're getting,
right? Yeah, this is fascinating. I love it. I love this topic. Well, I'm personally passionate about health and wellness and vitality and living a long and healthy life. That's my deal. I love that, and I think this is such a great topic to talk about, just because of how we opened up and you talked about the health of a healthy, straight smile and how that can really improve your life, not only with the obvious, which is boosting confidence and bigger smiles, and that changes people's lives, right? When people start smiling, and that you're in this business, but also not occluding their throat and allowing the breathing to happen, because you know what, you and I could go down a vortex of talking about what happens to you if you're not breathing properly, which in other episodes we've talked about and will talk about. So awesome. I love it. I'm a fan. If I ever have to do it, I'm going to do it.
And I'll just end with this. The great thing after Invisalign is the retention. And so I'm a big believer in retention for a lifetime, which means you are sleeping in retainers. Basically, exactly like an aligner. So you've gotten comfortable, you've gotten used to what it feels like to have those in your mouth. And then you simply pop them in at night when you're all said and done with the actual treatment itself. You pop your retainers in at night, and that's what you're going to sleep in. And why? Well, just like we said, gravity's still always going to happen. Mm-hmm. So you're always still going to have the potential for additional movement down the road. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be able to retain the arch. We're going to, kind of defy gravity, if you want to say.
Right.
But you also have plastic on top of plastic of your teeth. So at night, we're still going to clench and grind and make different movements and things like that. But now you're going to be hitting on plastic to plastic rather than tooth to tooth. This is going to save your teeth, going to keep you from chipping and breaking anything, going to keep you from doing any kind of natural wear and tear. It's going to make your fillings last longer. It's going to make your crowns last longer. Right. It's going to keep you from breaking teeth, and there's nothing wrong with that. So in the end, you may have invested more with Invisalign. But I can promise you, if you do the right thing and you stay in your retainers, you're actually going to create an insurance policy, is what we call it, with your retainers. And you're going to save money by not needing as much further dental work in the future.
Right.
This is huge.
It is huge.
If you really want to put the pen, and the numbers and the pen to it, it's going to save you money in the end, because you are going to have a healthier functional bite, and you're going to protect it at night from then on.
Right. Awesome. I love it.
Yes.
Love it.
Well, thanks for being here today.
Great
and us
topic.
being able to share with you all the kind of 101 coursework in learning more about clear aligners. Hope that helped you. Please, if you or a friend or maybe a teenager that you have in your home is interested in Invisalign, feel free to reach out to Stonebriar Smile Design or anybody in your area that is actually very qualified to do Invisalign. And just my little side note, I'll ask you, please don't do it online by yourself.
Also, to help us grow and expand our reach, be sure to like and subscribe to this show on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever you prefer. Just remember, it's time to live your legacy now. I'm Dr. Jill Wade, and this has been the Beyond Face Value Show. Until next time.